The symposium, we kicked it off and we started talking about global finance and what's going to happen in the ecosystem. We had a very U.S. look at it, and then we had a very zero-sum look at it, which is, the value of Bitcoin is going to be more synonymous with gold. And our take has been more that Bitcoin is a protocol, it's a network, and you have another set of protocols like ETH, et cetera. And that the way in which we think about it today is very linear, and it's hard to think about what is exponential and super linear. And so the way I think about it is that we're just in the really, really early innings of what's going to be trillions of dollars coming into the ecosystem, building against it, and then the value continuing to grow.
Fed Governor Chris Waller actually speaking down the road at the Wyoming Blockchain Symposium happening right before the Jackson Hole Conference, making some comments about payment systems and crypto, saying the payment system is experiencing a, quote, technology-driven revolution, and he sees no reason to fear transactions that use a distributed ledger. It's important from a Fed standpoint as to whether or not they have concerns about the distributed ledger in terms of financial compliance and things like that, saying the public and private sectors can both embrace innovations in payments, and he calls the Genius Act recently passed in Congress and signed by the president an important step that could help stablecoins, quote, reach their full potential. AI, he says, is being used to help advance fraud detection and compliance, and it's important for the Fed to continue to embrace all these advances. Finally, he reveals that the Fed is researching tokenization, smart contracts, and AI in payments. Guys, not something we used to talk a lot about, but now the Fed is deeply involved in monitoring very closely all of these innovations that are happening, and they're important for the Fed, which, as you know, not only makes monetary policy, but also deeply involved in financial regulations.
There are 60 trillion worth of assets globally in retirement accounts with zero allocation right now to digital assets. Every 1% allocation from that 60 trillion adds $30,000 to Bitcoin's price. And so from my perspective, a 2% allocation would be conservative when you consider that all of those assets are currently in a monetary framework whose authorities have told you they want to depreciate it by 2% a year. So why wouldn't those accounts stake 2% of everything denominated in melting ice cube and stick it in another protocol altogether? So again, that alone would take us to Bitcoin at 175K, or up more than 50% from here. We still think we are incredibly early. We're still seeing early signs of institutional adoption. You look at Norges, the world's largest sovereign wealth fund, almost $2 trillion in assets, has been increasing its exposure to Bitcoin digital assets. It's still a rounding error for them. But when the world's largest sovereign wealth fund, the world's largest endowment in Harvard is now buying Bitcoin, starts to do it, that opens up the door for all the other relevant parties, other endowments, other sovereign wealth funds to do this in a very interesting way.
The Federal Reserve just releasing the minutes from its last meeting. And really, aside from what they said about the economy going forward, Eamon Javers, maybe there's a little drama on people, not agreeing with Fed Chair Jay Powell.
That's right, Brian. The Fed minutes indicate a somewhat divided open market committee here. Here's what they say from this July meeting. Participants generally pointed to risks to both sides of the committee's dual mandate. A majority, they say, of participants judged the upside risk to inflation as the greater of the two risks. Remember, it's inflation versus jobs for the Fed. Several participants, however, viewed the two risks as roughly balanced, and a couple of participants considered downside risk to employment to be the more salient risk. So choose your own adventure here on the Fed in terms of what's the biggest threat out there. In terms of the fundamentals, they say inflation somewhat above the 2% goal, unemployment rate remains low, employment at or near estimates of maximum employment. Remember, this is before that big jobs revision that we saw a little bit after this meeting in July. Uncertainty about economic outlook remains elevated here, and some participants mentioned indicators could suggest a softening in labor demand. So maybe they saw some of that data that indicated the revisions were on their way. The Fed also said they expect inflation to increase in the near term. Tariff effects, they say, are becoming more apparent. They say a few participants note that tariff-related factors could lead to stubbornly elevated inflation. And they say that evidence suggests that domestic businesses, consumers, are predominantly bearing the tariff costs. Now, that puts the Fed at odds with the White House, which has said that the tariff costs are being absorbed by foreign countries. The Fed here saying evidence suggests that domestic businesses and consumers are the ones predominantly bearing those costs. Also, they say participants observed that growth of economic activity slowed in the first half of the year, and for the second half of the year, they say several participants expect growth to remain slow for the second half. Two interesting notes here, Brian. One is a decline in immigration they say, is lowering both actual and potential output growth. And also on AI, they say the risk that increased use of AI in the workplace may lower employment going forward. So two things to watch for in the dynamic in the workplace is decreased immigration and increased use of AI. Brian, back.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And you know I come back with that video just to make you think. And make sure you're joining the Patrons. If you're not a part of the Patrons, make sure you're heading to Cash App. Also, go like and follow the TikTok. More videos to come. And we have Kraken's co-CEO. And it's not by chance that you have the Wyoming Kraken Conference going on at the same time you have Jackson Hole. Remember, this is a plan. It moves in phases. And we have the co-CEO says Bitcoin value would be would go. And why is he saying this? Because he's talking about the fourth industrial revolution, which the sheep have no clue because they stay distracted on things that don't matter. And we had the Fed governor, Chris Waller, at the conference, plus at Jackson Hole, speaking about how these crypto digital assets are going to revolutionize the payment sector. And also speaking about smart contracts and AI. And we know, guys, when it comes to all this money and these 401ks and pensions, they're going to drift off in this tokenized economy. And of course, crypto is going to benefit. Now, we had the Fed minutes come out. And what do they speak about? That's right, inflation, the jobs market. Of course, the Fed is going to say everything is looking good for right now, but we know the jobs market is weak. We know inflation is going to continue to get worse due to tariffs. And then it also states that AI and immigration is going to weigh on the economy. We know AI is going to replace a lot of these jobs. There's a plan, it moves in phases. But remember, guys, when you're talking about immigration, the reason why they bring the people in is for low wages. And now that they no longer need them because they know they're turning to the machines. Again, guys, this is a plan, it moves in phases. But don't forget, your life is an illusion and TV is your reality. We have the China mosquitoes, and we've seen a lot of technology when it comes to mosquitoes and these other insects. And then we have the National Guard in D.C. There's definitely something cooking. The black swan is definitely around the corner. But right now, looks like it's just a test for something big coming next year. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
A new mosquito-borne and transmitted virus. It's called chikungunya, which has over 7,000 cases so far. China is even bringing back COVID-like measures to try to contain the spread. The United States has even issued a travel warning alerting Americans to stay away from the outbreak region. Fox News medical analyst Dr. Mark Siegel is here with what we need to know. Dr. Siegel, thanks for coming on.
Great to see you, Ainsley.
So how worried should we be here in America?
Well, we're seeing a lot more mosquito-borne viruses right now. Dengue, chikungunya, Zika, and that's what we should be concerned about. There were 640,000 cases of this particular virus last year, and it's increasing. And this particular mosquito really is hardy. It breeds on very little bits of water, and it's hard to get rid of it. I'm also really concerned about the draconian measures that China is bringing back into place to try to control a virus where they're going to have no success whatsoever. Yet they're sending people in red vests to houses to make sure you don't have any stagnant water in the house. They're spraying you with insect repellent if you enter the city. They got drone planes flying overhead looking for stagnant water, sending a message that personal liberty is meaningless. That's the problem we had with COVID. And that didn't just occur in China, as you know. It spread to the rest of the world, including the United States with lockdowns. You're not going to be able to get rid of this virus this way, and it sends a wrong message about what public health is.
Yeah, and if you have stagnant water, they're going to fine you the equivalent of $1,400, and they'll turn your electricity off. Here are some of the stats. There are 240,000 cases from January through July in China. There are 7,000 as of... Oh, this is around the world. Okay, thank you. 7,000 as of Wednesday and 90 virus-related deaths. Now, I was talking to you during the break. We were so concerned during COVID because people were traveling into America and they were bringing the disease here. Can these mosquitoes get on the planes, get in the cargo?
Well, I told you, they can't buy a ticket.
Yeah.
But they can get in the luggage. They can hide in cargo bays. They can live in tiny little bits of water. Their eggs can last forever, even if they're dried out. And the virus itself can get you pretty sick. You get bone pain, you get muscle pain, you get high fevers. So it's nothing to take lightly. It gets people very, very sick. And it's spreading. And yes, they can come here. And then, Ainsley, they can seed our particular mosquitoes. We got a ton of these Aedes mosquitoes, AEDES, in the Southwest in Florida, and that's why not only travelers bring it here, but the mosquitoes come here as well.
Yeah, what are the symptoms? You mentioned the bone pain, you said. What are some other symptoms?
Bone pain, muscle pain. You can get a rash, you get headache, you get fatigue, you get nausea. The headache can be pretty prominent. Unfortunately, you can even get inflammation like encephalitis. So like West Nile virus, same idea. So these are particularly worrisome symptoms, and it's not usually deadly, but it can get you sick. And the bone pain and the muscle pain can last for many weeks.
Mm-hmm. I remember during Zika, I remember if you were pregnant, they said don't travel to certain countries. So.
This isn't as risk for pregnancy the way Zika is, but I'm glad you brought that up because it's very hard sometimes to distinguish between Zika and dengue and this because they go on the same mosquito.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of the huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we can have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner Every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're getting at more right now with Bloomberg's Shonali Bassick. Shonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told its members that this has been part of the reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will, during that auction that we saw a little bit before. The attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets.
Now, it was not just a poor auction. It was absolutely lousy, and you know, when the dealers have to step in to save a Treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence. And
Crypto Teacher and the New World Order book, plus the 3 Kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get home stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing they were still getting that free money, what are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know, I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID Stories 3. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.